Always, all days, all nights, sing do I, do I, do I.
Cool. Well, Sam, welcome to Campfire Convos. You're our first guest here, and hopefully it's going to be a fruitful journey where we can explore your, I guess, your mission and the realities of that and following your path and your dream. And so I just want to welcome you here, bro. Thank you.
Right, how good does this look? Hey, yeah, it's definitely a little bit of a step up from what I've got at the moment, but you got to put yourselves in those positions to feel empowered and inspired, and yeah, certainly looking around here, I definitely feel that.
Boom, brother.
Appreciate it.
Sweet ass. So just quickly, we'll go around the room quickly because we've got a few of us. So those who aren't familiar with me and all my spamming on LinkedIn, I'm Will Fleming, and along with Guy Pigden, as he cuts to him, we run Campfire Studios. Guy, I always intro you as like, got 20-year film career. How do you intro you?
I guess I would say that, yes, I come from a background of being a filmmaker, videographer, all those types of things. But yes, I have made a couple of feature films, a documentary, a lot of shorts, web series, all that sort of thing. So that's where my background is. But I've also taught in the digital media space for, 3-4 years. And I'm very sort of interested in how we can sort of connect online. We can market content and sort of find people online after the work we do. So that's probably enough about me, Will.
And just before we come to Sam, I just want to give a quick shout out to Guy. If we cut back to you and you look like you're in like one of those terrorist videos, where there's like, but if you cut back to me, he's got me lit beautifully. And so we will improve Guy's shot, but I just really wanted him to be, normally he's behind the camera, and I really wanted him to be in front of the camera with us today. Sam, tell us about you, bro. What's the mission here? What are you hopeful for with your journey in business?
So my name's Sam Ringdahl. I'm the founder of Better Than Before. So what it's all about is just trying to empower, educate, and I guess it's like documenting my journey at the same time as well of that discovery of myself and I guess what I'm truly capable of. And I want to build a community out of it. And I guess that's where I struggle at the moment because it's always my face, and I want people to buy into, that wonderful journey and and create a brand out of it, not just you can go down that, I guess, mental performance or coaching realm and things like that as well, but I want it to be something to stand beside. And I used to work for like the likes of Red Bull and stuff like that, so it was like, how could I create a brand that's transformational and not just transactional at the same time? So that's a little bit about that.
That's awesome, and I've seen your logo that's on your hat, and I've seen a few people wearing it. What's the significance behind your logo?
So the significance behind the logo is obviously every brand needs an identity, and I was going on that self-discovery journey myself, and then I guess Better Than Before was born, and then so the next step was creating the logo. So I was just playing around with the B, the T, and the B, and that's where it all stemmed from to start with. There was an original adaptation of it, and it kind of like changed over time and things. And then, so I guess if you kind of look at it, you can see the B, the T, and then the other B's being flipped. And then, a butterfly obviously has to, go into the chrysalis, and then it becomes this beautiful creature. And that's, I guess the journey of life as well. So that's what it kind of means to me anyway.
It's awesome. And I guess what I really identify with is we came up with Campfire Studio to try and like give you a hint of what we're aiming for, just like you're doing. Like if you just hear Better Than Before, that is the outcome.
Yeah, exactly.
To be better than before. And for us too, if we can give people the experience of like, remember when you sat around the campfire and you had those mean, awesome chats, we really want to try and provide that space, even though we might be trying to sell a business or to promote something. You can do it in a really human way, which is probably what you're trying to do too, things done in a human way.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's really important. As like I said, it's about being transformational, not transactional. That's where, everything fits in. I mean, I guess everyone out there, if you really unpack them, I feel as though it's important to look out for, each other and things like that. And, I just feel as though it needs to be spoken more, and having, spaces like this to be able to do that. It's just, it's the way forward.
Boom. Well, hats off to Guy. who spent 6 months preparing it and a lifetime career of of lighting people and making them sound good so that we could come in today and just have all the best cheers. Anyway, sorry, Guy. Sam, talk to me about the realities of following your own path, of believing that your idea can bring an income in for you, can sustain, can build wealth. How much do you sit with that and think some days it's reality, other days it's like a dream? What's that process, man?
That process is very difficult, to be honest with you. It is something that I battle with every single day. And that's, some days I don't want to get out of bed, you know, and I've never been someone to deal with mental health or anything like that. But when you start putting more responsibility on your shoulders, you know, it does, you know, have a huge impact. And then obviously, you know, when you trying to finance something yourself and trying to figure it all out, like I don't have any understanding of business, of, you know, how to run accounts, anything at all. Sales is my background. And, you know, some days I feel like I can't even sell myself at the moment. But yeah, it's a hell of a journey, but it's all about learning the diversity of it all. Like for me, it's about trying to create that ongoing income and things as well. So like right now I'm reading Money Master by Tony Robbins and learning how, you know, the power of compounding and things like that, because if I can obviously set myself up to have that ongoing income and things, then it doesn't really matter what I do. Like I can finance it, you know, in multiple ways. Like this is more of a passion for me. This is something that I want to do for the rest of my life. So as long as the food's on the table, you know, the roof's over my head and I feel like I'm a good person, it doesn't matter how that gets financed, but I've just got to go out of my way to, you know, make that happen, and also be really conscious about how to have that, you know, business or, making sure that the financials are in place some way or the other, whether that's sponsorship or whether that's through investing or, you know, and having multiple streams and things like that as well. That's why it's like important to have sponsorship, to have apparel, those sort of things, and just figure it out. If something doesn't work, you know, it can drop away but yeah, obviously you need, anything needs to be financed, and it's not easy.
And I guess talk to us about, you know, I mentioned your hat and the logo, but you wear multiple hats when you run your own business.
Yeah.
You know, and it's everything from you're the content manager, you're the tax dude, you're the sales, you're the customer service, and I mean that must be a huge learning curve.
Yeah, it is. I think, you know, going forward is I never want to go back and be employed by somebody else again. So, but if that was to ever happen, like I feel as though having that diverse range of understanding of everything, it just makes you a hell of a lot more powerful than you ever have. You like say, you know, marketing, accounting, sales, you know, being the face of it all. It's something that, yeah, it helps me be a better person and have, you know, full understanding of, you know, what goes into everything. And yeah, there's, to run any business, like you've got to have a good understanding, but how do you get that understanding is you've got to educate yourself, you know, and like I'm still far from having any clue as to how to put all the pieces to the puzzle together, but I guess it's just trying to stay in the game for as long as I possibly can, and meet the right people and those sort of things, and then the opportunities. And there's going to be huge mistakes, like even now, like I look at it and I'm like, I'm spending too much money, like I need to still tighten up. So it's like, okay, I've gone away, I've created a budgeting template or gone back to it, and now it's like, you know, this is working for me. I want to be able to share that. So then, you know, I'll be able to put that onto my platforms, and I want to try and do as much as I possibly can for nothing. Yeah. And through the whole journey, it's just about me talking to myself and trying to give myself the tools that I wish I had at an earlier age. And that's something that really resonated with me. And it was only something I heard in the last probably like 4 or 5 months, is like when it comes to the content, instead of, you know, being really niche specific and trying to talk to your audience, like it's more powerful if you just try to talk to yourself and, you know, give yourself the tools that you wish that you had from an earlier age. And
interesting.
Looking at like the, I guess, you know, school and things like that, while it is great and, you know, I took a lot away from it, like it hasn't really set me up to where I'm at now. Well, I didn't know that this path was going to be this path, but yeah, it's about having, you know, just trying to learn as much as I possibly can through it all.
And you mentioned, and I'll bring you in too, Guy, you mentioned not wanting to go back to work for someone else again. I relate to that massively as someone who has worked for other people my whole life. I'm 42 now, so that's a good 20 plus years of dealing with someone else's KPI and dealing with someone else's vision. And I'm just like sitting here thriving, chomping at the bit to build our own mission.
Yeah.
And what about you, Guy? I mean, I know obviously we've just clicked over the new financial year, and me and you are like weeks away from going to have to go find other work. What's your thoughts on things as we've gone down this journey?
Well, I think we certainly at the beginning of this year took a huge leap of faith.
Sounding religious, Guy?
Religious in the belief in ourselves.
Self-belief religion. It's the best religion out there.
So, we sort of really sort of said, look, and I was actually quite zen about it. Last year we were both, or I was teaching, and you were too actually, and working for other companies. And this year my contract was not renewed, and on any other year I would have been in a sort of a blind panic thinking about who I was going to work for, how I was going to get the next job, what it was going to be, all that sort of thing. And this, and I've been in that situation before. Obviously, I need to quickly pivot or find something. But this time I was like very, very calm, and I was like, I'm just going to go all in on Campfire Studios. I'm just going to continue to work with Will and sort of, I guess, that expression, trust the process.
Careful, pal. Don't trust it too much.
But, sort of knowing what we had built the year before and knowing that if we could just expand that a little bit, it would be okay. And so I was sort of pretty calm and chill about that. And so far we've been all right, and we have managed to sort of just keep pushing forwards and kind of keep innovating and, find that work for ourselves. I think the hardest part for me has actually just been money management. So in terms of the idea that, just like as you said, I'm 39, and for, pretty much all of those years, I've had a wage come into my account, either weekly, fortnightly, or monthly, and that has always come in. And so when I think about paying bills, I don't think about saving my money. I don't think about what I need to retain, because in my head there's always been another chunk coming in at a very specific time, and now it's not a very specific time and it's not guaranteed and all that sort of thing. So maybe, Sam, for yourself, how has that been for you, that transition for you, and sort of how you've dealt with that? Because I know it's been a struggle for me.
Yeah, to be honest, it's been one of the most stressful things out. Like, seriously, not knowing where the next dollar comes from and things like that. And yeah, I guess it does, I'm always telling myself, trust the process. But yeah, like I was saying before we got started, it's like, at the end of the day, the investment into yourself and, to give yourself freedom for X amount of time, for however long that dream lasts, it's going to set me up for the rest of my life, wherever that goes, that better than before ideally won't dissolve or anything like that. But, wherever it does go, I know that I'm going to be in a better position than I ever have been. And that's all that matters. But, it's important to minimize or mitigate that risk when it comes to that money management. And that's something that nobody's ever taught me. So it's like, I need to take responsibility myself. And that's, through reflection. The other day, I feel as though I'm getting a lot more powerful in it, because I'm now thinking in solution. So instead of me just like trying to rah-rah and, lift myself up, it's like, what's the biggest stress that I've got going on right now? It's financially, and it's impacting me mentally. Okay, so now what do I do moving forward? Okay, I'm gonna build that budget out. I need to tighten up on the outgoings. How can I create more incoming as well? How can I create that ongoing income, or diversify some of that into that investing to get that 7% each a year and things like that. So then there's like 4 or 5 things that need to be executed on straight away, and then that's going to alleviate or lift that mental pressure and things as well, because there's that structure, there's that process, there's that strategy in play. And then that just, helps with that overwhelm. But it's definitely has not been easy, that's for sure, to manage that. Yeah.
And I guess one of the things that I've been saying to a lot of people, because I am the face really of this, that actually my secret weapon is having another pal who has a different skill set, and we complement each other. But the problem with that is no one's privy to that. No one knows. And so it looks like, oh man, look how does Will achieve all that stuff. It's like, because like this dude's here, you know, doing the hours. And because we both have this years of career, we're able to like shortcut a few things. So I guess my question to you, bro, is like, how is that working for you? Who's championing you, you know? Because do you have other people, or is it just all on you? Because that's a hell of a thing to carry all on your shoulders.
Yeah, for sure. To be honest, like I'm definitely not, I don't feel like I'm in it alone, but at the same time I do. Like I'm doing all the work, like I say, I'm wearing all the hats, all that sort of thing. But there's been a lot of people that have come in and really helped change the game. And some people have stuck around. Other people, you know, if they've been supporting financially and things like that, I'm more like a nice to have, not a need to have as part of any business and things. But, you know, like by having like sponsors and things like that, I've got Dave at CNS Civil and Sean at On Point Roofing, who currently have been helping out with sponsoring the podcast and things like that as well. And that was the thing with that, is like, you look at the numbers and like what you should be getting, but I'm like, at the end of the day, I'm going to go out there and pitch who I am, what I stand for. And right from the beginning, I hadn't even had an episode out there and someone was paying me $600 a week, you know, and I can guarantee there's not many people out there that are getting that sort of income off it, because they're going based off what they think or what the market dictates. So I was like, well, I'm not going to listen to any of that. I'm going to go out there and see what happens. And just, you know, I was in a very tough spot because I just was going through some rough patches in my relationship, which ended up we walked away from. I was, you know, going through COVID. I got made redundant, all these sort of things. And then someone, you know, sort of believed in me, and that's the figure that we got to. And then, like I say, some people have, you know, come on and off with it all. I've had a really good mentor in Harry, who runs Vega. And he's just been helping out behind the scenes and just been someone to lean into, and opening up that whole networking side of things for me, opening doors and whatnot. He's been amazing. Also the likes of Lawrence, who, you know, like he's just been so supportive behind the scenes and like sales, marketing, just pushing back on me and like my thought process and things like that as well. At the end of the day, you've got to make your own decisions, but it's just nice to have a springboard, you know, because sometimes it might be things that you don't agree on, and you got to protect what you believe, because that's the most important thing.
Absolutely. And one of the things I've been trying to think is it's okay to like have this self-belief area, and I say it to Guy often, we should always tell ourselves there's a high chance it won't work. That's what the stats say. But I think what no one talks about, which maybe we're all talking about in this chat, is there will be lessons and value in the things that you're learning.
And you everything.
Like as competent, I guess, people who have been able to work to a reasonably high level in other organizations, we've just never been asked to like pinpoint what it is you're trying to sell. You know, and it's been a challenge for us too. Like, are we a podcast company? Are we a media company? Are we the one-stop shop? And I've tried to like look at the data, and maybe you got some thoughts on this, Guy, to be like, this is what people are putting money into. So that's what we need to head towards. You know, have you got any thoughts on that, Guy? Because I mean, we speak crazy amounts of time on the phone about all this stuff. And I guess when it comes down to it, the difference I feel about other little hustles that I've had over the years is that people are willing to put their money into investing. So the value, it must be that's the bit, right? You can have these best ideas on paper, but what people want to pay into is, it's quite clear to see that's the value, right?
Yeah, I think that's always a tricky one of like finding exactly what it is that you do for people, and where the value in what you do for people is sort of evident. But obviously, you know, when people are paying you for what you do, that's at least a good indicator. And if they continue to, and they come back and ask you to keep doing it, that's always, you know, really positive. But I think, you know, the challenge that we all have, or the biggest challenge I think that we all have, is we may be very skillful in one area and we may be able to do that thing very well. And in fact, actually, maybe many people would find value in that thing that we do, but connecting to those people and breaking through the sort of the white noise of everything that's online, everything that's available, everyone vying for people's attention, to connect to those people is actually maybe the hardest part, I think. But yeah, that's sort of, I guess, my sort of thoughts on it. Yeah.
And Sam, where are you, if you follow the data of what people are putting money in for you, what is that exactly? You know, like, and I guess it's slightly a different conversation to the sales hat we wear. Where do you truly believe that people find value and that they'll find it so much that they'll hand that buck over to you?
I guess that I'm talking, I guess, about the overall vision and where I see the brand and where I want it to go. And that's been one of the toughest things. I want to, this ginormous thing that makes some serious impact, that looks cool. And it was something that I'd read, and also Lawrence had really told me, is like, I know I get what you're trying to do, but at the end of the day, you need to take one step. You're not going to, run a marathon overnight or, start unloading the machine gun. If you start just spraying heaps, you're not going to hit anything. Whereas it's like, just take one step at a time, like load the chamber, be the sniper, knock one thing down. And so still now it's really just trying to peel it all back and understand what everything is. What are like the 4 key pillars of it, moving forward. How can you commercialize that? And because obviously to keep going, you need, like as we spoke on, is to have that financial side of things locked away. And I guess when it comes to like the podcast and things, I feel as though, it's important to let people know what you think it is. And that may change. Like you say, you guys are trying to figure that out for yourselves, You might think you're one thing one day and you're like, oh, no, actually, because you've got some perspective elsewhere or anything. But you are what you tell yourself you are, that's the most important thing.
Yeah.
And that's what, at the end of the day, how I sort of picture is that I want to educate, empower in a positive way. Like I'd rather be putting, this stuff out here because it's what I do every day. I listen to like Stephen Bartlett or, getting these free education. Obviously they're a lot further on and can articulate their words a lot nicer and things, but it's a great way to work on communication, to work on listening, and, to, I guess, build understanding and things like that. It's hard because obviously you think you're doing a great job, but then you look at the numbers and the attention you're getting and it's minute. But, as long as you can consistently move forward and adapt, learn, use the analytics and things. They say numbers don't lie, but I feel as though sometimes necessarily you don't have to, listen to that.
Yeah.
Go like pave your own way and things too.
Sam, can I just jump in and ask, what do you consider your 4 pillars to be?
Yeah, so I guess at this present time, I feel like my 4 pillars would be is the podcast, is the apparel. I've been doing coaching and things on the side, and then it's possibly like events and like speaking and things, because that's just sort of what's presented itself and what has been, financial. So we've got an event this weekend down at the local skate park that the council have paid us to go and facilitate. So, that has to be an important part of that moving forward. So, and obviously they see that there's value in having some of that, positivity and things in that local, environment and things like that. Apparel is a very, very hard game, but I just wanted something that I could wear, or, if I show up somewhere, that it helps with that visibility. And also, it's just a great marketing tool. That's why Red Bull, you always see the athletes wearing their hats and stuff, because when you're on camera, what's the fit, when you're on the news or whatever, that's the only shot that you're going to see. So you want to look after that, that prize position, I suppose.
Absolutely.
And then the coaching and things, I just haven't really pushed that side of it, because for the scale that I want to make the impact on, there's a lot of, I guess, mental performance coaches and those coaches out there. But like I said, I wanted to, build a brand of things out of it. But that's just something that has presented itself, and I've taken that opportunity. Yeah. But, when you're trying to make impact at scale, if you're doing it one person at a time, I get that in the start, but it's you're trading time for money again, and that's not something that I want to be doing. And then the podcast is that's probably my favorite piece because, like I say, I can work on my communication, listening. I get to talk about myself from time to time, and also the power of the network.
Absolutely.
That for me is huge, and that's why I think it's important for any business.
100%. I mean, even that we can convert our brief comms online to real life and have a really clear reason. Like, it's a neutral ground, podcasting.
Yeah.
There's not too many other areas that, you and I will cross paths. I mean, apart from business, but, you got your own interest as I do. And I just love that there's this kind of way that you can reach out to pretty much strangers and have a instant kind of understanding of what that world is. We're going to chat today. We're going to try and connect. And, it's something that we think about. How do you communicate that? And so I guess that leads to my question I have for you. Like, there's a networking part. I would prefer if everything was just we catch up with people and cut deals. But of course, that's not the entire picture. The picture is amplifying who you are digitally. Yeah. Talk to me about your journey with that and the pressures of that and how you actually structure the editing hat you must wear and having enough clips to service online and, trying to get heaps of likes on something because that's part of building the brand.
Yeah. I guess for me is now I've moved away from those vanity metrics because like at the start, like some of my videos, I'd get like 1 million views on it. And then, now because I turned it into that brand rather than doing like those random acts of kindness and things like that. I saw that there was an opportunity and then I kind of pivoted and tried to build. So I'd already kind of was building a community, but then I pivoted. And so then what they were probably seeing at the start compared to what they see now has been a bit of a change. So I'm kind of like rebuilding all over again. But I still feel as though it still meets that whole like better than before attitude if I'm, say, impacting somebody's life or just dropping, a random mindset hack or something like that. But it's really tough because if you go, say, on TikTok and you look at somebody, they'll just be consistently talking about the one thing over, and that's why people will go there because they know what they're going to get, and that's why they click that follow button. Yeah. So it's being really specific. I don't like that. I want to be more diverse in, what it is. Like if I want to put a cool video out of Jaden on his bike doing a, backflip and he, the sun's shining, that to me is still, I guess, being better than before. It's enjoying the environment and things. And that's where I find it tough because I'm like, this is cool. This adds value, but then it might not resonate with who's watching.
Or the algorithm punishes you.
Yeah.
Guy?
Yeah, I can speak a little bit to that. And so, I have a YouTube channel, or a couple of YouTube channels actually, but one of them is sort of around filmmaking. And, they talk about the YouTube algorithm is so great and how it knows you so well, but I think it actually only knows you if it can put you in a box and if it can sort of narrow down, as you said, such a specific focus, then the YouTube algorithm is great. But if you're someone that enjoys diversity in your content and diversity in what you want to talk about, what you want to engage with, and that, then actually the YouTube algorithm is really stupid. It's really dumb. It can't compute. It will not show. Sometimes you click on someone and you subscribe and follow them because you like them, specifically them, the person they are, the brand that they present, not actually because they do X or they do this. But for YouTube, you'll see those people do something or try something different and get, those views plummet. And I've sort of seen that in terms of what I do as well as, if I sort of switch up my content to vlogging as opposed to educational sort of film discussion or film gear, you just see that it's not even being shared to the people that chose to follow me. And, I think there's a big problem with that because it sort of, it reduces, it sort of kind of forces you to be more generic in the stuff you make, but it also sort of means that you don't get to discover new things because the algorithm doesn't recommend that. So that's just my sort of personal sort of experience and sort of noticing that, and I hope that they can make some changes to that because I think it's actually really important because actually you actually get sick of creators creating the same content over and over again. Like, that's how they're getting, I guess, what you'd call, like, that's how they're being funneled their viewership. But it's not actually how you retain true fans, because, if I've seen you talk about a certain computer, 100 different ways, the first 2 times, I was interested, but, the 99th or 100th time, I want to know what you think about something else. And you see content creators kind of falling into that all the time. And I do think that's, a problem with the algorithm at the moment, at least.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the interesting thing about running your own business is that there's variety.
Yeah.
That we can kind of schedule our chat today. And technically it's work. Well, technically it is, because we've taken all a gamble that this will be part of the income streams, whether that be through sharing networks, growing networks, funneling clients to each other. Maybe someone who comes across this is like, I've been looking for someone like you, or us. And I think that's really interesting to me. And it's kind of human, which I'm really interested in, especially with the world of AI, and the algorithm we should have actually called AI, because it has been AI for a while. And the scary thing I heard about artificial intelligence and the algorithm, which I put in the same lump, is it thrives when it makes us more predictable. And I think that's unexcusable. I think that's disgusting.
Yeah.
The best times I had as a kid take films was when I got pleasantly surprised by the film I was about to see. There was nothing about, let's take the Avengers 21 films or whatever it was. There's actually, when you sit down and watch them, they're just your dopamine levels getting hit.
Yeah.
There's nothing unexpected. I can't think of one moment where I was like, oh, I didn't expect that to happen.
Yeah.
Thanos getting his head chopped off? No?
Oh, yeah, but but even,
no, I totally agree.
Even that, all the stakes were off.
That's right.
It would have been cool if he was still wearing the rings. Yeah. Well, do we still have to say spoiler alert? Not really.
Well, I think that enough times passed.
Yeah. But you know what I mean? That it's the variety, and that was my instinct reaching out to you, is like, we're in this in real time. We're trying to build businesses in a recession after COVID.
Yeah.
Why is my question? Why not? Why don't we have strong urges to go get full-time jobs? What is that for you?
This pushes it harder for me now to be like, I need to be on this side of the fence. I need to be in complete control of that. I can't let somebody else dictate, when it comes, oh, sorry, you don't have a job anymore. And then you're starting from scratch all over again.
And people can do that really easily now, eh?
Yeah.
COVID took the trust bit away, which is like, if I'm a big organization, we'll give you time, we'll look after you. And maybe they had to stick to that. But now, since COVID, even in schools, you can say the night before there's no school tomorrow. There was no option for us to have that. And I think that's good. Sometimes you don't want options and things. You need to have stability. We probably won't go too much deep into it, Guy, but you're kind of finding out your contract isn't renewed weeks before it's up for renewal.
Yeah, that's right. We're proceeding as if, hey, you're doing all the work, you're booking in your, your timetable for the next year. You're delivering all the things that you need to deliver to set up for next year. And then, I guess pretty much exactly sort of 2 weeks before that contract ends, they're like, oh, yeah, we're not doing that. And in fact, we're not doing that not just to you, but everyone who has this type of contract, regardless of where they are, how many students they have, how good their course is, the work that they've done, the achievements, all of that is irrelevant. It's just a blanket thing because they need to cut costs. And you're one of the ones that they don't have to pay a lot if they don't renew your contract. So I was certainly sort of victim of that. But maybe, Sam, just like changing tracks a little bit, like if we can go to your podcast, how long have you been doing it for? What are the conversations that you have? Like, what's the sort of, I guess, the genre or where you like to have your discussions on the podcast?
I guess, for the podcast, it's all based around empowerment, education. They are the two main pillars for me because I want to be selfish. Like, I want to learn from these conversations, and the more conversations that I have in the more diverse, I guess, world, I can learn from them. It's like, I'm not religious by any stretch, but I'd happily sit down and have a conversation about it and open my mind up a little bit more on things as well. And again, it's like, I was thinking about it, and it's like, you need to, be really niche specific. And I felt like I was getting put in that mental health box. And don't get me wrong, like, it's something that I think is important. Probably everyone in this room has either suffered from it or had somebody else that, may have taken their own life from it, or, so we've all been impacted one way or another. But I didn't want to be put in that box because, I hadn't suffered as severely as what other people had and things as well. But, now, like I say, taking on more responsibility, the mental health has certainly had a large impact, and the stresses of, not having the financials and stuff squared away yet. But I just want to put out great conversations that people can be a fly on the wall, and whether that is, someone in the music space. So I've got somebody coming through tomorrow that's in that music space is growing in New Zealand quite rapidly. Her partner's massive in New Zealand in the drum and bass scene and things like that as well. And that's the music I love. So wouldn't I want to have a conversation with someone like that? Then I've had the likes of like Brody Retallick and things, him sharing. He's probably someone that's quite reserved and doesn't share a hell of a lot. We were talking about the stillborn of his child and things like that, to put that conversation out there and see a little bit more. And I thought that I did a really poor job. And because I'd over-prepared so much, because I wanted to do a really good job, and then I sat in the space and, my heart's pounding, and I was like reading quite a lot of it rather than having a conversation like this. But that's all part of the process of it all. The opportunity come, what am I going to do? You're going to say, no, I'm not going to have that conversation. I'm going to prepare for it, and, I'm going to learn from it. What could I do better next time? And, for him to share those, and then his cousin who organised it for me came back and said, I've done a really bad job. He said, mate, I've never heard him speak like that before. So I was like, okay, well, that's a massive win for me.
Absolutely.
And then just other people, like I've had Lawrence on. Obviously, he's had, his story with his tumour and things like that as well. And then I've had like Stephen McGuire, and he was just about in tears talking about, he'd never actually sort of let go of his father's passing and that sort of thing. When you got, a grown man in his 50s sitting there having a conversation, and you don't really have any connection at all, and he's going to start to show that vulnerability and break down and cry, I was like, to me, I want to continue having these conversations.
Beautiful, man.
For me to be in that. And now I'm taking it into different scenarios and things too. So like a while ago, I loved talking about this. I went to a party, and because I don't drink alcohol anymore, it's like, how can I enjoy myself in these spaces? How can I come in and do things a little bit differently? You walk into a party, you'll see your mates, and you'll go over there, and that's you for the night. You'll stay within that circle. And I'm guilty of that, and I do like to, meet new people and things. And then for some strange reason, I walked in there and I was like, I'm going to go out of my way to meet every single person in this room tonight.
Cool.
So I went round, I introduced myself, and it's really hard because of what I'm doing. I don't want to take away anything from Joe the plumber. Because that's what he does, as long as he's happy and things, and I'm coming in, I'm like, I want to make positive impact. I'm building this brand, do things on social media. So it's really hard. But if you have, like, open yourself up, be a little bit vulnerable, let them speak and things, and earn that right to have that conversation, you don't really get pushed down, or there is no tall poppy. They're like, holy, this is amazing. Like, why haven't we heard about this before, and that sort of thing, which was awesome. And then so, like, going around, you're sharing your story with everybody. These are more people that are understanding what it's all about. And then the level of conversation all of a sudden changed. Like, these guys were starting to share, male and female, things with me that you would never hear at a party ever before.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm facilitating this. Like, even now I'm just getting goosebumps because I've never had this happen or been a part of this environment where the conversation just changes, and, you're talking about these at such a deeper level with people that you've never met in your
awesome.
life.
Yeah.
And then at the end of it all, we sat down, and it was getting really early in the morning. I was getting tired by this point. Everyone's had a few to drink. And then I just put it out there. I was like, let's all go around the circle and say two things about the person beside us. And again, I'd never done anything like this at a party before. And you're sitting next to complete strangers and it's going around, and the things that people were saying about each other is like, I was just about in tears. You got partners sitting next to each other, so it was like this amazing moment for them to be able to share what they mean to each other. Then you got the next person sitting, beside a stranger, and then, what they're saying about this person in a really, really positive manner, no bullshit, no, cutting people down or anything like that. And then it comes around, and then the guy next to me is like, oh, there's just something about you, like, I feel as though, by being driven by this purpose, you're going to absolutely achieve what you want. You're just an amazing human being. Like, look at, what you've done tonight and things like that. And I'm sitting there like, just in awe of what's happened. And yeah, it was like totally amazing to be a part of that. And I want to continue to do that, to be like, make deeper level connections, like even in here today, like to be able to share this and, to be a fly on the wall and things. So it's like you can be in the comforts of your own home with the podcast and share those pivotal, amazing conversations. That to me is nothing better.
I would like that what you just described is what we call networking, is what we call sales. I truly believe that if you're just like trying to connect honestly and deeply, and you trust what you're trying to offer somebody, because we all need to buy stuff,
That's it.
Like, you're not going to not buy deodorant. You're just going to have to, or toothpaste or whatever. You cannot, but most people are just going to like, that's what we do. So we do have a commerce-based society, and we have done for generations. And I think it's okay for us to be on that. I just don't want to be part of might get slapped around on LinkedIn for this, but there's definitely this networking, which is it's more algorithm based. Like we're talking about with YouTube. It's like, you got to do this thing the right way. You got 60 seconds.
Yeah.
Or you're out. You're probably not out. And I got friends who are part of that world, but for me, it's like, give me 60 minutes. I reckon I can do better at explaining my service if you just try and feel what I'm saying, as opposed to me telling you my 4 things, Fellas, just been a mean chat. Guy and I set out to maybe, the vision was to like have someone in the hot seat and to connect with them. And while we're talking about business, I was part of these things a few years ago called masterminds. You guys familiar with those? And what we'd do is every week you'd nominate somebody to say, I've got a problem, and the others would try and help with a solution. Maybe it's business based, but maybe what we could do on this podcast is our guest has an opportunity to kind of close us off with what's something that's a bottleneck in your world, or something that you've been like trying to work through on your own that we could quickly jump in to offer some brainstorming, and that people on social media watching can offer comments towards. Is there anything that comes up in your mind where you're just like, man, this has been a real battle, this area, and I'd like some mentorship, some guidance, some input here? What picture emerges when we're talking like this for you?
I'm currently going to therapy, so it's something that I've never really done before, but just obviously opening myself up a lot more. I feel as though I'm somebody with a very addictive personality and tendencies when it comes to everything, when it's training, when it's eating, whether it's nicotine, alcohol, those sort of things. Now, for me, I've slowly been ticking the boxes as I've been going. So like drugs and alcohol right now, not an issue and things. But now it's like I reward myself with eating and those sort of things. So for me, I guess it would just be, getting your point of view on, around addiction, because I'm sure that it's a really hot topic for a lot of people. I'm sure that there's majority of people out there that have an issue in some way, shape or another with one thing. One thing that's been really good for me has been reflection and writing things down, being able to see it a lot more. And then, like I say, is building that game plan out. And like, it's still been tough. Like, I'm still making poor decisions, even though my awareness has been a lot clearer than it ever has been. One thing for me that has been really amazing as well is breaking it one thing at a time. So I got rid of the alcohol, 2.5 years off that. And then it's drugs, because I was still smoking a little bit of marijuana, because I was happy with that. I didn't feel like that was impacting me, but then it got to a stage where I was like, actually, I want to get rid of that now as well. So it's just been one step at a time. But I guess for anyone out there around those addictive tendencies and things. What are some things that you guys use to help you out if you have anything
Interesting.
that holds you back?
Man, that's I didn't expect you to talk like that. I was going to throw it over to Guy. Go on,
you throw
pal.
it to me.
Yeah.
Well, for me, because I sort of, I do have an addictive personality too in terms of work. So, when I kind of get on something, I can really dial into it, but to the point of being detrimental to the other parts of my life. So certainly to my relationships, and certainly, and I kind of get hooked in to doing something or working on something, and then that project kind of just overwhelms my whole life, where I'm just singularly focused on chipping away at that, but all the other things go out the window because I'm so focused on that. And I mean, I think that self-reflection is a sort of a key that has been really helpful for me to sort of just check myself. Like, say I've been working on, say, this documentary masterclass at the moment, and I finished at 3 a.m. as I was working on the edit the other day. And it's like, okay, so just know, Guy, that you're not going to finish at 3 a.m. again today. You're going to set aside some time to be with your partner, to go to the gym, to do something else. But whatever you're doing, you're going to be at a normal time. And when I was a bit younger, I wouldn't do that. I would never I'd just be like, this thing is the thing and I have to finish it. And so now it's sort of just retraining my brain to go, you can have like spurts of doing it like that, but it can't be every day.
Check yourself before you wreck yourself.
100%. And then I think just on the eating thing, and this is something that I've also been sort of struggling with, is that I don't drink very much. I don't smoke. I don't do anything like that. Obviously I just have a beer very recreationally, but I can go months without one and it's no big deal to me. And I don't notice that, but I do have an addiction for sweet things, and I really do struggle with not, like kind of turning, and they say, like the more research is coming out is like sugar is a drug, like all those things, and it can actually, especially refined sugar, can be just as bad for you as those things for your body. It's just not talked about in the same way, and maybe it should be. But one of my big things is that, and I say this to my partner all the time, is that don't rely on yourself to be strong enough not to do it. Just don't have those things around. So when my partner, brings a liter of ice cream home, I say, don't bring that. Don't bring anything that you might have that I could then also have. I understand that I'm not strong enough to resist the temptation to go in there and have that. So just let's not bring it into the house. And I think that it's more acknowledging that it's okay not to be so strong-willed that there's all this stuff around you and just walk right past it, is like, no. Our brains are trained to sort of, want those things, and the closer they are to being able to have it, the easier it is to indulge. Whereas if you simply kind of take those things out of your peripheral, out of your area, and acknowledge that, no, I'm not that strong a person, you actually have a much better result. And so I've certainly acknowledged that recently, that, I just take those things out, and we're not buying any of that stuff. And, and I say, like, if you've got any of that sweet stuff, just hide it from me. Like, keep it in your car, like, just keep it away, don't tell me that you bought it, all that sort of thing, because it's okay not to be that strong, I think. Just be aware that you can not have it in other ways by simply sort of keeping it away from you.
You're removing the cue from the environment, which is the most important thing, Yeah, as soon as you take that away, even for me, like moving up to Auckland, that changed my life. I got out of Christchurch, and it's something that it is a hard thing to do sometimes, but you can literally, like, if you got to up and move to give yourself a fresh start, what's more important to you? Sitting in the same space every day and not being able to move forward because you're crippled by that cue, or getting out, and starting fresh and things like that. So even that, but it's not hard to tell. I mean, it is hard for you to probably have that conversation and say, you can't bring ice cream in here, I'm going to fail.
Yeah.
And that's really good responsibility put it on your shoulders to have a tough conversation to say, please, can you not bring it in the house?
That's right. I'm ruining her
her life.
day. I'm ruining her day. I'm ruining her by saying, hey, look, sorry, I'm not strong enough to resist that. So you're going to have to, or you're at least going to have to do it when you're not around me. Yeah.
No, I think they're also, what we're highlighting here is like, progressive is probably a word that means a lot of different things to people. But when I say it, it's like, it's a very progressive chat we're having, because if this is what business means, then I'm all in. I'd rather be having these chats around the ice cream, around the addiction, than around like, I've got to show a manager that I'm amazing, that I've got to hit these KPIs. That is soul crushing. And I get it that most people will be in that realm, and maybe it's not for everyone taking whatever leap we're on. But my feeling is like, as long as we can talk about the pain points, the hard bits, the realities of looking at your bank and it's got a few bucks in it, because you hope and you know that the work you're doing will have a return, then surely we're not the only ones in history who started there, and we won't be in the future either. I guess just to finish off, I'm powering through these audio books, and there's this guy, Alex Hormozy, and
the goat,
yeah. But I just came across him
right now. Yeah,
I'm listening to his book, $100 Million Offers or something.
Yeah, like it's $1,
something
a dollar. Yeah.
And he's talking about when he ran a frat house, and basically after 14 days, everyone that joined the frat house has mutiny. They're like, this is so unfair. We thought it would be epic. Maybe some of us can imagine that in business too. And he's like, brings everyone in. He says, raise your hand if you thought this would be easy. And no one raised their hand. And so I'd ask us in the room and also listening, raise your hand if you thought running your business would be easy. No one puts their hand up, including us now. And his thing was, this is what hard looks like. And so that takes the pressure off, because it's supposed to be hard. You're supposed to battle with how the fuck do I sell something to somebody? And I think what I'm, wanted to end is that it is hard, and it's a good hard. It's the right hard, because we can influence it. And I also just wanted to say thank you, bro, for taking a punt and being our inaugural guest on Campfire Convos and talking a bit about business and content and podcasting. And where can people follow your journey if they wish to engage with you or buy from you?
So yeah, the website, if you want to cop some apparel, it really does help. It helps me get into the community. It helps me been doing a bit with the schools and things like that as well. It funds all of that. So you can check it out at www.betterthanbefore.co.nz, or also the social channels is at bettr.than.before, or just on LinkedIn it's under Sam Ringdahl, which is Ringdahl. And yeah, I just want to say thank you so much. You're paving the way, you're believing in yourself, self-belief's everything, it's not going to be easy, but, life's not easy either. So you can choose your heart, and if this is your heart, I feel like you're making the right decision, so amazing.
Boom. That's us, guys. Thank you, man.
Oh, man.
Awesome.
Always, all days, all nights, sing, do I, do I, do I.